All right. Whoa. Wait a minute. Yeah. There we go. All right, y'all. We are back. Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of the Squeeze Podcast. And we about to get into it. We are talking again, y'all, about that same thing we talked about the last stream. And that's the good old election, y'all. It's the election. I hope you voted. If you haven't voted, let's get ready. Let's get ready. Let's get ready. Because it's about to go down crazy, wild, and wonderful. And if you didn't know that already, you can actually, not only can you vote, you can bet on the votes. You can bet on which candidate you feel like is going to win. Do you feel like that's democratic? Because I'm feeling like we're at a point of no return with all of this. But I don't want to waste too much of you guys' time. So let's get right into it. So if you're watching this video and you like the content you've been seeing, it's absolutely free to you, but I'm just asking you, please hit that like button for me. If you can, comment. Let me know how you're feeling about everything you've been seeing here on the Squeeze Podcast. And share this with any of your friends and family that you think might need to hear it. All right, now let's jump right into it. No spoilers,
Where to
just that
invest
straight
$1,000
juice.
right now.
And like I
forget
said,
about
we can't get
stocks,
rid of these
crypto, and
ads
real
until we
estate
run
because
that game
there's
up.
a little known
But in this episode, we're going to hear the two sides discuss who they think should be president, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris.
So right now, while we watching, if y'all can, hit them comments.
Do you have
for
a
me.
car?
That's crazy. We
And do you
just
have a
started
clean
watching this and
driving
getting an
record?
ad.
Did you know you could pay
Hit
as
down
low
those
as
comments
$19?
so that way we know
The focus of this
if
discussion.
you feel like Trump or Kamala would be the most ideal president. Who are you wanting to win? I'm not asking who you voted for because that is illegal, but a lot of people nowadays seemingly want to say exactly who they voted for. We are an unbiased channel here where we are just looking at all the facts again, so that way we are fully informed up here on any and every decision that we are making. Last week, we did a deep dive on this same Jubilee podcast with, not even a podcast, but this debate between 30 Democrats and 30 Republicans. I think that this one was a lot more heated. I took a gander at it before, of course, bringing it to you guys because I only want to give you guys this straight fire when I'm giving you content. When you are watching this, you see the polarization that is happening between our communities before. And I spoke about this in a group of counselors that I myself work with. Where it is that instead of having a candidate that represents the things that you need, the best interest of you as a person, and not you believing in them, because now it's like you have to believe in the rhetoric of the person that you say you're voting for, which is absolutely insane because at the end of the day, they're just somebody who represents your interest. They're not your profit. But we're going to get into this, y'all.
It's going to be a group discussion. The focus is who do you think would be a better president, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
I think at the end of the day, we have to really look on race issues. I think when it comes to record, that Donald Trump has had a far better record when it comes to race issues, when it comes to HBCUs, when it comes to the First Step Act, when it comes to opportunity zones, and I think also when it comes on to school choice as well, because school choice creates
being a product of HBCU. I'm gonna pause this real fast, and I want to give it straight to y'all, but I do know that Trump was giving out checks to HBCUs, which has helped my alma mater, Bowie State University, to build new campus buildings and now a litany of new housing for these new students that are coming in. I'm not going to say that he's the only one who did something, but he did make a significant change, at least on the place that I went to school at. Now, I know that Bowie State has done a lot more fundraising. I don't know how much money went into every single thing, but I do know that they did receive a check. That's all I'm saying.
Competition within the school districts, so then you can send your kid out of your district if their school is not good. And
Okay, and I said I was going to read these facts to you. So, school choice right here is programs that let parents use tax dollars to send their children to school outside their local public schools, often through vouchers or special accounts. So, what that just means is pretty much like how charter schools were initially, which anybody down in the comments, let me know if you know of any charter schools that still exist, because I've seen the end of charter schools, but charter schools would allow you to go to a school or a magnet school even. God, I didn't even think about magnet schools. But they would allow you to go outside of your typical public schools to gain an education that was either focused to what you wanted to learn or allowed you to get a more robust way of learning outside of the public schools, which have been a topic of controversy literally, I think, since conception. So who knows? We're going to keep going.
is not teaching your kid. So I think at the end of the day, it's pretty stark when it comes to record. And I think Kamala Harris doesn't really have a good track record when it comes to when she was a DA in California.
According to the American First Policy Institute, there are 75 such programs across 34 states. So that's a majority of our good old constitutional America. But I don't know anything about school choice. Again, I don't have any children at the moment, so I couldn't tell you all the ins and outs of the school system, which is very important to know when you're going to be voting for a school board administrator. All these things are particularly important, and that's why you have to have a strong community. If you have friends and things like that who do have children, these are the type of conversations you should be having with them, because you're going to go down to that ballot. There are going to be things on there that affect not just yourself but the community at large. And that's why this whole I got to get it on my own, this individualistic mindset that they push, is effing us up even more. It is more prominent now than ever during election time, where it's going to be prevalent that every nitpicking thing that you do is going to be important. So I'm, again, going to let it go. I really want to know what you guys think about who's going to be the better candidate, though. Again, we're unbiased here. I'm just going to be talking about straight facts.
California and all the minorities she put in prison for minor drug offenses. So I really would like to ask you guys on this side, why do you think with that track record that Kamala Harris is a better option than Donald Trump?
School choice takes money out of public school systems, which I know you guys don't like that. It's too woke for you.
Okay, so school choice can remove local dollars from school systems when a parent uses that money as a voucher to send their child to a private school. What it is the school board is allocating those funds via, which I didn't even know that was a thing. The amount of dollars would be transferred, because it's similar. I don't want to get into that. I'll have that conversation, because what I was going to say, and I'll just be transparent, is it's almost as though they're saying that children are equated to a dollar amount as far as the school systems are concerned. And that's pretty much the same thing that private prison systems do to people as well. And then when on top of that, they do not pay those people who are grown adults, obviously because you're in prison, to do the jobs at pennies at a dollar. It's crazy work, but I want to make sure that we're getting into the main focus, and that is education and the electoral process in which we are about to take place in very soon, because tomorrow is going to be the end of the popular vote, but that just means that after that, we got to wait for what? The electoral college, y'all. So make sure y'all tuned in. And if you are placing bets, make sure you are extra tuned in, because you're going to need to know all of this information in the coming future. I'll even put up some, I don't know if they have these statistics on what states are, winning what candidates yet, but I'll put all that information up if I can find it.
That's fine, but that's what's actually happening with school choice. Ask Betsy DeVos. I mean, Betsy DeVos. It was horrible. Donald Trump. I mean, we can go down the whole, twice impeached, convicted felon, blah 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 blah. Coherent sentences. Kamala Harris does that, and but she's not a narcissist. She doesn't.
And this is something that I really want to boil down to the max. Trump is a convicted felon, right? More than one, you heard the man, over 30 accounts. yet we have him on the ballot box. He also has been president, so he has experience in the job. So that's where it's a catch-22 to a lot of people, because it's just like, well, he has the most experience out of the two major candidates. And on top of being the most experienced, he is also a convicted felon. So it's a lot of contention. So I want to see what they're going to say about it.
Doesn't think of just herself. She thinks of us.
I want to respond to him really quick because he listed a whole bunch of reasons that had nothing to do with race. Like, I'm talking about race right now and what Kamala Harris has done to help minorities in this country. I don't want to hear stuff about convicted felon. I don't want to hear stuff about twice impeached. I want to hear about
convicted felons. You brought up drug felons. Because do you actually know, my friend, how many people went to prison under Kamala Harris as a DA for drug offenses?
Yeah, but how many people were convicted? That's the problem. When you have
Do you
a criminal
know?
record,
I'm asking
you're convicted,
you.
it changes your
Do
life
you know?
significantly. I do know. I do know. It was 1,940 people that were convicted. And a minute amount of that went to prison, but it still doesn't matter. They're still on probation. They still have a record.
Her
at the end of the day.
administration.
So as San Francisco DA, VP Harris' office secured over 1,956 felonies and misdemeanor marijuana convictions, with a result of 45 in state prison sentences, according to Bay Area News Group. So they convicted over pretty much 2,000 individuals, probably male, for possession or who knows what of marijuana, the 45 of which resulted in state prison sentences. So what that means is they went to do fed time, you guys. They are not doing small time. They didn't go to regular prison. Like they say, there's like regular jail, like that's jail, that's startup. And then there's prison. But it is a point of concern as a black voter to see these type of numbers and then want to place her in a higher place of office.
Convicted 45 men, black men.
They went
for-
to
for-
prison.
for
That's not
drug-
the that's not the
Okay,
that's
let's
not my
let Michael
statement I'm trying to
respond.
say.
Can I ask you something as a black conservative? Your candidate says, I want to make America great again. You tell me when America was great, and then you tell me, would you go back to wherever it was great as a black American?
I do want to hear this one. When do y'all think, let me know down in them comments, when do y'all think America was at its peak greatness? And if that time was its peak, would we as a unit choose to go back? Let me know down in them comments, because that one is very interesting.
And it's got to be before 2016, my friend, because that's when he was saying that.
I think America was great when everyone was benefiting from economic
No, not
prosperity.
general,
That's when
sir.
America was
I'm
great.
asking for a
That's when America was
specific
great.
time.
I just
When
gave
was
you a time.
America
I
great?
just-
If you want to know when America was great, ask any immigrant who risked their lives to come here.
I really want to hear from the
America
black
is
man on
great.
this. I really want to hear from the black man on this, because the second part of my question is, would you go back to that time? When was America great?
America was great when everyone had equality and everyone was moving towards equality. That's when America
What
was great.
year was
That's
that,
when America
sir?
was great. After the Civil Rights Movement, that's when America was great and making progress in change.
So let's say the late 1960s. You're saying as a black man, you would
Would y'all go back to the late 1960s? Are we back to the 60s? I don't know, because I know my mom, she was a young lady in the 60s. I don't know if that was the worst era, but we still had a lot of civil rights issues going on. So I don't know, my guy.
transport yourself back to the 1960s.
No, I think America was great when economically everyone was doing better. When we're making progress towards equality, that's when America was great. And
So the sum of the condition of America was when people had economic equality, and you think that was the 1960s?
no,
for
I never
black
said that
people?
was the 1960s. I said
I'm
everything past
asking
that.
you,
I said
when
everything
was
past
it
that. We've
great
made so much
for
progress from
you?
then.
In the 8
So-
years that Donald Trump has been involved in politics, I've seen all the Make America Great hats and all the great T-shirts and all that great stuff. But I'm trying to figure out, as a, I think, intelligent black man, Well, when would I go back?
So I do have an answer for you in this equation. Those years will be 2017 to 2021. Alice Johnson is free right now. And I know you want to pigeonhole me into a period. All right, you want to go to prior to 2016? Let's look at the Reconstruction era when we had black Americans as a whole that were finally free from the scourge of slavery because of what happened.
So the Kansas-Nebraska Act was one of the motivators that led to the founding of the Republican Party in the 1850s to oppose the expansion of slavery into the U.S. territories. The act allowed new territories to decide by popular sovereignty whether to permit slavery. So it was even after we had the ability to no longer be free, be slaves. They said that so that way they didn't lose the South before this whole Revolutionary War that they would call it as. This is a lot because you're gonna have to dive into it because all of this stuff is very much by each individual year. We try to group it together in 1 year, but all of these things happen sequentially. So you have to look at this year, this act. It's so many different things that it paints such a vivid picture for you that it's absolutely insane.
Happened in the Civil War, they banded together to create something called the Republican Party, and the Democrats created something called the Ku Klux Klan to find and exterminate as...
And I think I just heard my own mistake, the Civil War, not the Revolutionary.
Many of those recently freed black men...
Okay, so again, I wound it back because I know I kind of chopped what he set up. But the KKK was founded in 1865 to oppose the Republican Reconstruction efforts in the South, including equality and voting rights for black people. The founders were former Confederates who collaborated with Southern lawmakers, many of whom were Democrats. That's why they say that just until recently, the Democratic Party was revamped, and since then, they have held the sway over the black vote since the 1960s. If you think that I'm incorrect, please let me know down in those comments if you have any other facts or information that would shed any new light on it. So let me wind it back because I do want to hear what this band was saying because we kind of skimmed over it.
The Republican Party, and the Democrats created something called the Ku Klux Klan to find and exterminate as many of those recently freed black men as possible. We can fast forward then to the 1960s if you want to. We had Lyndon Baines Johnson, Democrat president of the United States, who said, "I will have those N-words voting Democrat."
I want to revamp on that part that he's about to say. But while the authenticity of the quote can be debated, LBJ was known to use racial slurs. President Johnson campaigned and signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Johnson has been described as a racist who did more to advance racial equality than any president since Lincoln, which is crazy work. And I'm going to go back.
Democrat president of the United States who said, "I will have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years." And then he brought the Great Societies Act.
For the next 200 years. He said that he would have us voting for him 1964. 200 years. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, it don't take that much time. It's been almost 100. So what do y'all think? Do you think that is true, that we are held hostage by the Democratic vote because of a Civil Rights Act? Or do you think it's deeper than that? Because that is something I've heard very much in the most recent times when it comes to what people are choosing to do when they vote. I'm going to let it rock.
It's not working.
And emphasize Margaret Sanger to exterminate as many of us as possible.
Chandler, it's not working. Let's move on.
I want to collectively, let's all bring it down for a second and just speak socially about.
Okay, so Margaret Sanger, founder of the American Birth Control, which is something I actually have had an episode about. So if you have a chance, make sure you go down and watch some of my older videos, because the woman who, Margaret Sanger, was also a known racist and wanted the Planned Parenthood to actually eliminate the minority race, which at proportionate rates, even if you don't watch my stuff, you can go and watch Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels spoke about this as well. I'm going to read this off. So Margaret Sanger, founder of the Birth Control League, which eventually became Planned Parenthood, Sanger supported eugenics, an idea that Planned Parenthood acknowledges as racist and ableist because it advocates the theory that society can be improved by selective breeding to promote traits and intelligence and industriousness. So what they're just saying is that lesser people with less money and intelligence, should not be able to breed. And the thing is, we advocated for it now, contraception and the avoidance of having a child, instead of understanding that our actions will create a child. And I'm not saying that we don't need it, because I think that it's absolutely necessary in more than one little event. I think that contraceptives on all levels are necessary, but I think that we need to have a conversation about how we are using them, when it is necessary, what are certain steps we need to be taking before we even lay down and stay down with situations that will change our lives forever. All right, guys, let's let this thing rock down.
What's happened since 2015, I grew up Republican. My mother is literally on that side right there. And I do not remember it ever being like this.
So this is the polarization.
And the reason that it
I was talking
became like this, in my opinion, was because of Donald Trump, right? So we saw this insane racial divide. We saw the increase in Asian hate crimes. We saw the racist xenophobia. When we talk about illegal immigration from the last episode, we never talk about the white ones. We're only talking about the brown ones, right? So like, there's all of these social issues that have changed. Like, honestly, I am less attached to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump than I am to you. I'm gonna interact with you far more often. And so why do we feel that like we can't just, like, I went to, and on the break, like I went and got a coffee and it was like chill, right? Like that's how it should be. It used to be like that. I remember when it was like that. And the reason that it is so polarized and it's so toxic, and the reason that we're like cutting off family members and like blocking people on Instagram is because of Donald Trump, you guys. It really wasn't like this. And I just need you to acknowledge.
I do have this question too. Do you believe that Donald Trump has polarized us? I do think that the fact that he was, this is my theory, okay? And I don't want you guys to believe that this is what you need to be believing, because I don't think that Trump is the cause. But I spoke about this again in a group of counselors myself. But just like how you see for a long time two warring fractions. The best example of this is the Three Kingdoms. If you are a gamer, they what do they call it? The Dynasty Warriors or whatever. But I'm a well-read person. I know about the Three Kingdoms. So what they had is they were two dynasties that were vying for power for a very long time. I think about 150 or so years, which is similar to what we have going on here. While they had these two warring fractions, there was a stalemate because they would always be at odds. So what they did is they threw in a third party. Okay, when they threw in that third party, the battles intensified. People were more emboldened about their beliefs and what their ideals were amongst their people, and on top of that, it cut the time in half that they were warring with one another to the end where there was one singular dynasty. So what I would say about this is that Donald Trump, not being a politician, somebody who speaks out and says like the most outlandish things, has twisted the political game to a point where now it's like there is a third faction of politics, which people believe in Donald Trump because they feel as though now, because a regular person is now into politics and a lot of the things he says isn't tailored like a politician would be, that they are getting something better and they are found a new king in Donald Trump. But I think that that's incorrect, guys, because just because he wasn't, fit for me, I guess trained for the job, I would say that he's said a lot of things that would make you think that he doesn't ever need to be in office. And this is just my thoughts. Again, this is an unbiased channel. I'm not telling you to pick either or the other. Okay, let's let this rock. I'm not trying to pause it as much because we don't want to be here for too long. I know you guys have things to do. It's getting late. I would hope that you watch this tomorrow so that way when you're going out to those polls, you're making an informed decision and you're not just choosing anything randomly and hoping for the best, because we know ain't nobody luck like that. You have to make informed decisions. You got to know what you're doing. So, all right.
Just acknowledge the change.
Respond to that. What happened with Donald Trump actually became an expression of what Republicans were feeling. For years, we've been taking the brunt of a whole bunch of stuff. We've had Hillary Clinton call us a basket of deplorables.
She called the racist deplorables. Do you identify with who she called deplorables?
Wait, she called us basket of deplorables. I remember Julia Roberts got on the television. She said that Republicans are somewhere between reptiles and repugnant. We've been taking the name calling. You had Obama talk about those people with guns and whatever. We've been hearing all these things, getting peeps of these things behind the curtains. The difference between Donald Trump.
Okay, so President Obama said of working class voters in 2008, they get bitter, they cling to guns or religion or any antipathy? I don't know this word, y'all. That's crazy. I'm a master's empathy. Okay. To people who aren't like them, or anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations. I think that, as much as I did have a lot of love for President Obama, I'm not saying I don't have any love for him anymore. It was very life-changing the day I even got to shake that man's hand. But there have been times when he has said things that make me sit there and wonder, do you think about this from a place where you understand your community, or are you just saying this from a place that you are a politician, hoping for people to follow behind you like we did when it was time for you to be in presidency? Which puts me at a point where it's always back and forth. Because more recently, he backed Kamala, and only on the standpoint that we didn't see a lot of resurgence of support from our community, the black community, when Kamala got put as the head of the candidacy. And I just question that, because it's just like, so we're just supposed to automatically go with her just because she, has similar skin tones, or she's supposed to be a representative of our community, but she doesn't represent the community? It just begs the question of, what do you expect us to want from our presidential candidate? I don't just want you to look like me. I want you to have my best interest, just like I said earlier. But again, I'm going to let this rock, because again, I don't want to be here for too long. I know you guys got to sleep. You got to make grand decisions in the morning. And I hope that you've taken it easy.
And those people is that Donald Trump says out loud what you guys, or not you guys, but what the Democrats have been saying in private. And what's happened is the Democrats has now been recorded and it's come out, all of their stuff. But both sides have been saying everything. And so finally, Republicans said enough. With the Tea Party came out, taxed enough already. We said no more. We got to stop this, man. And we just got, I get so frustrated about it.
We heard your son say he remembers a time when.
Did you know that in Texas, rifles can be carried in public without a license?
All right, so that just means hit that like button, y'all. Hit the subscribe button for me. I appreciate y'all. If y'all been watching, it's going to get even more crazier as we get along. I will be skipping around so that way we're not here all night. But we'll get this thing done before it hits 12 a.m. my time, Eastern Standard. All right, let's rock.
It just wasn't like this. Do you agree?
No. And the reason that I don't agree is
Come on.
Wait, no. Well, in our home, everything was peaceful and copacetic. But what
It was. Emphasis on was copacetic, and then it changed. We never fought like this. Our family was never this separate until Donald Trump. And that's my point, is that it wasn't always like this. Your party has changed.
Right.
And you guys keep letting it change. This is not the Republican Party that I grew up in. Y'all just like move with this like hive mindset where he says something and y'all are like, yes, sir. And I'm like, that's weird. It's weird of y'all. You don't push back on your politicians enough.
So
you
you
let
have
him
to
change
chill.
your mind.
I have to do the mommy thing and go like that.
Okay.
And the reason is because people are saying these kind of things, we kept our mouths shut. But once Donald Trump came out and he said that the things that we all were thinking. When he came out and he said, this is a shithole country, this is happening here. People were thinking these things. And Donald Trump was just boorish enough to say what people were thinking. And Donald Trump is not a politician. He's a regular Joe average guy.
That is the problem.
So anyway.
Let's stop there. Let's hear a new voice on this side.
Yeah, I think what also perfectly highlights how disruptive the Republican Party has gone is the debates. We see Trump debating people, it always devolves into chaos. We saw the J.D. Vance and the Tim Walz debate. Even though I don't agree with J.D. Vance on a lot of things, they were able to have a productive comment. And the underlying factor is Trump. Because if Trump had been in the debate, it would have devolved into madness. And I feel like he's ruined debates, made them more contentious. He's made discussions between people more contentious because he sees it as a more personal standpoint rather than a political standpoint.
Okay, so this is the way I see things. Years ago, we didn't have this division. What we saw as Republicans starting in 2016 was Hillary Clinton pay for a foreign dossier to set President Trump up for Russia collusion. We went through $40 million of a special counsel. We have had 8 years of lawfare, including the...
So Clinton campaign and the DNC paid $113,000 fine for funding and then misreporting spending on research that eventually became the Steele dossier. Oh, goodness. Mueller's special counsel probe cost approximately $32 million.
Current 700 years they're trying to get him to serve in prison. We've seen assassination attempts.
Listen. This is crazy. So they said Trump will not face 700 years in prison. In his New York hush money case, he was convicted on 34 counts, each carrying up to 4 years, totaling 136 years. This man is crazy.
Now, the biggest problem that I see is we've got an invisible fourth branch of bureaucracy that is unelected that has more power than our elected officials. We've got a media that's lying to the American people on both sides, dividing us. And until we do our own research and we see what's going on for real, we're in big trouble. Donald Trump cannot be bought. Elon Musk he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire. How are you going to buy a billionaire? He's already got the money. Think about the threat to this unelected bureaucracy when you've got people like Elon Musk, RFK, both Democrats, and Donald Trump, who was also a Democrat, coming together to say, you know what? We're going to take on Big Pharma. We're going to take on the military war complex. And we're going to put the American people first.
She said that Donald Trump was a Democrat. That's crazy work.
I just want to respond to the America First claim because Donald Trump has never once put every single American first. It's only the Americans that he thinks deserve it, such as the upper class and white people, honestly. Because he's time and time again, the first statement he made whenever he ran for presidency in 2016 was, Mexico, they're not sending our best. And you're telling me that what he said was what you've all been thinking. That's already racist. That's already inherently racist. Mexico, I'm not saying you're all racist, but that is what that statement is. It's a racist generalization of Mexicans. So he's never stood for every people. He's not stood for trans people. All of you have constantly said that trans people are mental illnesses, that trans people, that it's just in their mind, that they don't actually feel this way. Like at the end of the day, I don't necessarily, I can be somebody who says that my party isn't completely right on all things, right? But I can confidently say that Kamala Harris over Donald Trump stands for more Americans than Donald Trump ever has?
If transgenderism is not a mental illness, then why is the suicide rate in the transgender community 40%, which is higher than Jews in Nazi Germany concentration camps?
Mental illness and mental disorders are two separate things.
So my name is Ryan Leon. Just like Ren said, I don't agree with everything that Democrats do, but I think Kamala Harris, at least she's putting forth policies that are more populist that I think everybody can get behind. So I got married 6 months ago. I'm looking forward to creating a family, and she has a proposal for $6,000 for the first year. More money for small businesses, like $50,000, I think it was, and as well as help for helping Americans get their first home. So it's policies like that that are actually solutions that people need in their communities and in their lives to help move the country forward. Whereas I see Donald Trump, once again, he's kind of having us talk about him, right? He's the center of attention. And I don't want to talk about him. I want to.
That is something that Donald Trump does, though. He moves the ball directly to him and says, nigga, I'm scored. Excuse my French, but he says that I am it, I scored. This is it. You got to just pass me the rock. We got the point. That's it, because I am the basket too.
Talk about the solutions. As far as what his side is offering, I've heard deport all the illegals. I've heard, build a wall and those things. I don't think that helps us as a people in our everyday lives, and we need to move forward with that.
Life wasn't bad under Trump. Like, you still have a job, right? You have a job. Everyone had a job in this room, I'm assuming.
I'm going to skip past this part, because this is where we get into that border stuff, and I think we talked about that the last time. So
It's like, you cannot admit that you.
Otherwise, that Trump has done over the last few years that you disagree with?
Something that Trump has done. So the question is, what has Trump done over the last few years that you don't agree with?
I understand what you're saying. You're saying it's a cult-like mentality, correct? That he does anything, we follow along with it. 100%. There's people in this movement that do that. We call them grifters. I will criticize, if he wins, if he loses, either way, I'm criticizing these people no matter what. Obviously, I'm a pro-choice Republican. That ain't very popular, I'll tell you that. The only thing is, on the other side, I've made fun of this for a long time. I think it goes both ways. I think we can agree on that. But it was literally a meme where it was like, okay, Ukraine flag in bio, Palestine flag in bio, vaccines, masks, all these things. Like, you cannot admit that you guys are not equally, if not more insanely cult-like. They literally were like, Biden's done, Kamala is our president. It's like, it's a fucking meme for a fucking reason. Give me a fucking break.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody voted for her. We voted for Trump.
Real quick.
He took a...
And I talked about this in the last one, and I came to understand that it doesn't really matter. I spoke with an expert on this, actually, and if you did not know, as far as the primaries go, that is the party itself really deciding whether this person or that person should be the person on your ballot. But at the end of the day, the party, the executives within the Democratic Party will decide on who is on the ballot and has the best interest for the Democratic Party. So with that being said, that is why Kamala appears on our national ballot. Even with all of that, I got something special for y'all about the election and how the process goes. But I hope you stay tuned, because at the end, I'm going to show you something very, very, very important.
Bullet for this country.
Okay, time out. Just want to point out, we did not hear a specific thing that somebody on this side disagrees with about Trump. So let's close that loop, and then we'll go back to you guys.
Yeah, I totally disagree with how Trump handled COVID, because I wish he didn't spend all that money giving out these stimulus checks and things like that. And I wish he didn't promote the vaccine as much as he did, because, to be honest, that is a big reason why there are problems in our economy right now. That being said, I do think that while Trump is not perfect, he's the best option we have right now with the biggest problems our world is facing, such as war that has erupted everywhere during the Biden administration, which there was not a single war under Trump. And also,
that is a funny thing to kind of say, because we don't control where a conflict will start. Now, we have been famous for destabilizing other places. So So I'm curious on what our evasive maneuvers and defensive maneuvers are supposedly look like, because if you ever see any movie, anything in the media, you only see America as the people that had the offense. And it's funny because, you know, as they say, Victor gets to make the history, but you just never know what it is that is truly going down unless you're doing that proper research. So let's get into this fact. Defense records show that 65 active duty troops died due to hostile action during Trump's presidency, including fighting ISIS, which Trump takes credit for defeating.
The invasion on our southern border, which I know the Democrats are trying to pretend they're so pro securing the border now, like you guys haven't been calling us racist for the past 10 years for caring about illegal immigration.
Sarah, to respond to you about illegal immigration, just very quickly, if I were to give you the test that my parents had to take to be allowed in this country legally,
now this part is very contentious, I think, but I am curious if I have any people that have been an immigrant that had to come in, or somebody that knew any immigrants that had to come in and get the national test or take it. Do you think that you would pass it if, you know, you had to take it, given the time frame and all of that other kind of stuff? They're going to get into it. I'm going to let them rock.
would you pass it?
If I studied, did they have time to study?
But you were born here and you got citizenship just by being born here. You should know all this because you learned it in school, no?
I was actually born in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Wow. And guess what? I was born a dual citizen, but
okay,
so
well, there's that. You're
here.
A dual citizen.
Yes, I'm here legally. That's what that means. And if I was given a test, I would study and take it. Did your parents have time to study?
My parents, their first languages are not English.
Oh, okay. So
you get to take it in English. My parents are from the Philippines. They had to learn English to come here and take the same test.
Let's quiet.
This whole country is based off of immigration. Your parents immigrated from here, from Canada, sure, but
let's just be honest. I mean, at this point, it's not all based on immigration, but it is a lot of people here that are not the original people of this place. And it's crazy to think that you feel like, you know, we have control, because I'm not saying that we shouldn't allow anybody into this country. But I do think that there should be a cap, because if everybody and their mother is trying to come here, then where is it that we, say no? Because we can't fill the world in one place. And I know it seems like this is the most grandest place in the world, but I'll be honest with you, America has its issues as well. It's very obvious, a lot of them, and then some are very well hidden. That's all I have to say.
But you were, okay, I don't know your history, but you said you're dual citizenship. So I'm assuming that you have family from Canada. You probably grew up speaking English, not having to translate for your parents. You probably were not called racial slurs even though they are immigrants.
Don't waste your time and money doing college classes.
Just waste your free time and hit that like button, hit the subscribe so you can catch up on any and every video that I'm putting out. And if you're liking this, please share this video with anybody that you love dearly, so that way they are up to date with all the current information on this current election, 2024.
Your immigration is very different from mine.
Yeah, so I'm going to respond to this because I came from a very poor country, third world country, and I speak 4 languages. And you guys can still hear my accent. When I first moved here from Haiti to college, I had to take a TOEFL test to be able to get into college, and I did it. Every single exam in my first year of college, I had to translate everything into French in my head first to understand what the question is asking and answer the question. Guess what? Everybody had 1 hour, whatever the time is to do a test. It took me also an hour to do all that. I never once thought that I was a victim. But let me tell you something, though. This country is built on immigrants. I like that. But at the same time, Democrats is at a point right now where they are shipping a bunch of illegal immigrants. They don't even know who they are, even people from my own country. We have actual criminals. Don't shake your heads, because I'm Haitian. I speak Creole very, very clearly, and I still have families in Haiti. We have criminals from my own country traveling here to the border. And where they are placing them in the black communities, like for example in Chicago, they are closing indoor playgrounds where black kids and Hispanic kids are using during the winter time to, not just that, but also to keep them off the street. What they are doing, they are putting these people inside those places, and they are taking funds away from the people who are there. So as an immigrant, I think it's the worst.
Yeah, because the programs that decide whether they're going to give money out are decided at an annual time. So that's one time or two times a year. There's a specific amount of people that they want to, help and have in consideration. And if we're adding on people from outside of our communities now entering into them, it's of course going to take away from the people that have been waiting, maybe even on a list, or have been trying multiple times. So that is going to feel like a robbery when somebody from another land, another place, and in less time gets everything that they were looking for without little to no effort. I'm just saying, this is something that I've seen countless times just in the communities that I've both lived in, the communities I've worked with. It happens all too often.
Thing for this country, for black people, Hispanic people, to vote Democrats, because you guys have been leading this country for 16 years. Even when Obama was president, black America was the worst it's ever been. Trump has done the most he's ever done in just 4 years. So cut the bull crap.
I'm gonna be really quick. I just want to respond to two earlier points. We mentioned like Elon Musk and like RFK being former Democrats. Where's Trump's entire previous cabinet? Where's Mike Pence? They can't even endorse him. Every single.
Okay, now this is something that I thought was interesting because I didn't think about it. But prominent members of the Trump administration like Mike Pence, John Kelly, and James Mathis have not endorsed a second Trump term, while Nikki Haley has.
Person that worked with Trump doesn't even support him this time around. And then to your earlier point, there was no wars. What did Trump actually do? Trump signed the Abraham Accords, which sidestepped the Palestinian issue and created the exact same kind of conditions that led to things like October 7th. If you had a single clue about the way the Middle East politics worked, or even in the case of Russia, Ukraine, he did nothing to end Russia's occupation of the Donbass and Crimea. You would know that Trump's foreign policy is not based in reality. And just the fact that two wars may have happened to have started under Biden's administration is not a causational argument.
Okay, so during the Trump administration, the U.S. provided Ukraine with hundreds of millions in military aid, including Javelin anti-tank missiles, which were used in the current war with Russia. It's a very interesting thing, man.
Okay, so he addressed me, so I want to address you back. Okay, so first of all, we've got people that want to take on Big Pharma, that want to take on the military-industrial complex. And as far as you saying about the border, the Biden administration has lost 325,000 missing migrant children.
A DSH Inspector General reports that ICE often struggles to track unaccompanied migrant children in the U.S. with 32,000 missing court hearings and 291,000 not receiving court notices. These children are at higher risk for trafficking, forced labor, and exploitation. This is crazy work, y'all.
And that should be a big deal to everybody in this room. 325,000. There are, according to DHS right now, there are over 400,000 criminal aliens in our country right now. All we're asking.
As of July, ICE has non-detained docket under the alternative detention program includes up to 425 convicted criminals living in the U.S. illegally. It's crazy, guys. It is crazy. So that's almost 1 million people. That's almost
for
half a
is a
million.
legal process, and I don't think that that is too much to ask for. My husband's a legal immigrant, and he came here legally. Everybody that comes into this country, it should be a privilege. There's not an
And the reason why it's so insane, that's the population of an entire, like, it can be an entire state for depending on where you're at.
another country in this world that you can just walk across the border and say, give me a $5,000 debit card.
We're gonna stop
Not
you there.
only that, as far as
Okay, so what she just is mentioning what she's saying. A New York City program provided 150 migrants with up to $4,000 each to move from shelters to permanent housing. The city council approved $2.6 million in prepaid debit cards for 7,300 migrants. All of this is, room for concern because, I know that a lot of these Trump supporters say that the border was opened up, and it is clear that a lot of opportunities are being very much handed to a lot of these migrants. And it's confusing to us as, the American people, where are opportunities that are clearly laid out and are easily available. But the thing is, they kind of cater it to the groups and waves of people so that way they're not left without and they have a fresh start once they get to our nation. So that's where there's the catch-22. Now, when it comes to the industrial complex and all that other kind of stuff, I'm going to let them take the front seat of it because that's a whole nother video.
is the Ukraine war, it wouldn't
Lori,
happen.
we're not going into
under
Ukraine right now. You've had the mic.
Trump. Well, he did. He hit 3 things. And as far as Hamas, give the hostages back. Yeah. Give the damn hostages back. Maybe we'll end the war.
Okay, Sam. I see Sam's ready with the
Okay,
mic.
so my main concern, I wouldn't say that I am strictly going to vote for.
And for everybody that just dropped in, please do me a favor, hit that like button. The question of the topic right now is, who is going to be the better president? I would love to hear your comments down below. Who do y'all think is going to be a better president? Because we down to the wire and we got to know what the hell is going on.
For any candidate just because of my political affiliation. If there is a corrupt Democrat as on the ticket, I'm not going to vote for them just because I'm a registered Democrat. And I don't think I can say the same for most, and I want to say most because I know there are some Republicans who would vote for Kamala Harris, and there are some Democrats that would vote for Donald Trump. For the most part, I don't see that same sentiment with the Republican Party. I cannot stand by and vote for a man who is held civilly liable in the state of New York for sexual assault against E. Jean Carroll by a juror of 9 people, 6 men, 3 women, with jurors that are selected by the attorneys in both parties. I can't vote for a man who is held liable with 34 felonies.
He has way too many
If there was
felonies,
some
y'all.
sort of
It's actually
thing that would
more
happen in
insane.
any candidate.
And this is the people that this is the, not to say the popular choice, but people are really backing him. Knowing all of that craziness that he is, Mr. Fill 'em Up, Mr. Incite a Riot, Mr. All the most craziest things. I mean, and the craziest thing about it is that people are trying to belittle those things to make him in a point of stature and to give him the highest position in the United States, the presidency. I don't know, guys. This is going to be a wild ride. I hope that y'all paying attention, though.
For the Democratic ticket, I would be able to step aside and vote for a different candidate. And I just don't see the same sentiment with the Republican Party.
It's my opinion that the sad reality is that there's things that we should be able to argue and disagree on, taxes, border, and all that. But there's stuff that I think we should all reach to a consensus and find it deep within ourselves to understand. Gender affirming surgery on minors should just be inherently wrong. A minor cannot consent. So I think we should all agree on the.
Okay, the fact here is 12 states allow minors to consent to health care services, but the rules vary. Some states allow minors to give consent if the parents are unavailable, while others limit minor consent to exams, diagnostic, and treatment. I think that if a parent is against something that their child is doing, I think that the latter, meaning the one where they're saying they limit the minors to consent, exams, diagnostic, and treatment, I think that they need to have that full course meal of exams, probably counselors, all these kind of things before they're making such a life-altering change. I'm gonna let it rock though.
These things, when it comes to the border, Democrats like to pretend, and Republicans like to pretend like she's open border as well. She's really much closed border. She's just an ineffective politician at enforcing that closed border policy. People are still crossing over that she does not want. She said, "Don't come." 2021 and 2022 had the highest number of deaths.
Okay, so they're saying the International Organization for Migration calls for the U.S.-Mexican border the U.S.-Mexico border, the deadliest land route for immigrants worldwide, as 686 deaths and disappearances were recorded on the border in 2022, which is half of the 1,457 recorded throughout the Americas that year. That's crazy.
Crossing the border in history. I think we should all be concerned about that. If we want to have open border policy, let's have an open border policy. There's merits to that. Kamala Harris doesn't have that. So it's just farce to pretend like she is inclusive. She's just a bad politician that's making people cross illegally and kill themselves in the process.
Okay, I have two questions that I'm going to ask the opposing side. Would you vote for someone held civilly liable of forcefully penetrating a woman's vagina against her will? Wow. Raise your hand if yes. So all of you guys that didn't raise your hand, you guys are voting for a guy held civilly liable of forcefully penetrating E. Jean Carroll's vagina against.
That is why we are so divisive. That's why there are families that are dividing, because we're calling each other bad people, as opposed to just, oh, they have a different outlook on things. They have a different view on things. Maybe they have a different voting philosophy.
Nah, but Trump is a felon though. Let's not sugarcoat that. Trump is a felon. We do know that.
Maybe for you, you don't want to vote for a convicted felon. But in our opinion, he's not actually a convicted felon, and so we're going to vote for him. Or he's not actually guilty of that crime. But the point is, we can go back and forth accusing each other of you're a bad person or you're a bad person. That doesn't do anything for the conversation. It doesn't do anything for our viewers. Let's actually go back to the issues. Let's go back to policies.
But that is an issue, I'll be honest.
Instead of silly questions trying to make us seem like bad guys.
Okay, I'm Soraya. I haven't spoken yet, and in part that's because you guys are so smart, like on both sides. You know so much detail about so many things, and I'm almost glad that I don't, because I would be just as angry, I think, as you guys if I knew as much information as you did. So my angle where I come from is I'm really against polarization. That's my main thing. I really can't stand it. I adore people on both sides of the political spectrum. I have family members.
Now, see, this is where we're going to touch that polarization, because I just don't understand why so many people are in belief of their candidate instead of understanding the policies. And something I've really talked about when the debates came out, if you paid attention, it has been a long time since you've seen a debate where they actually talk about policy. I think it's been over 12 or more years. It's not about policy. It's just a pick and match at who's an idiot or something like that. And y'all think it was Trump that started it? I think Bush started it.
And, just people that I adore, and they're all amazing, and they all make good points, and I listen to all of them. One thing that I've tried to look into is a little bit on the more historical side of things without getting too deep into all the nitty-gritty details, more like an overview. And one thing I learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that there's been a rise of conservatism that actually started in the 1960s that was happening alongside the kind of civil rights, rallies that were going on. They didn't get any coverage. Civil rights people got coverage, and there were kind of two branches, and one was a libertarian conservative who was really pro-free market, and then the others were more traditional conservatives that were really pro-tradition and family values. I'm hearing a lot more of that from you guys, and I'm saying that's great, it's fine. One thing I kind of want my own side to understand maybe is that the right has been trying to be heard for a really long time, and the liberals definitely won the culture war. And in my opinion, it is a lot easier to say how you feel as a liberal. It's not as easy to say how you feel as a Republican, and I think that's a really big.
Now, that is an issue that I do see, because if we want to get to a common ground for real, and that's or the middle ground as they call this place, we do need to have the ability to have these conversations with the other side, because we can't just think that what we believe is right and what anybody else says has no merit at all, because how they feel obviously affects a group of people, and it's affecting more proportionally more people if there are a larger number of people joining over to the Republican Party that weren't there before. So you have to take in mind that when you have any type of debate, you have to take your emotions out of it and really hear both sides. And then even when you do a proper debate, you're supposed to argue that other side and see it from their perspective. So that's why we're trying to do in this community, you know what I'm saying, make sure that we're getting both sides of the talking point. So let's let it rock.
Issue. They have been silenced. We don't listen to them as much, in part because their views are something that we've decided are not okay. But we decided that, and history could have gone a different way, and we could have decided that they were right, and then we'd all be the ones that were saying, no, we're the ones that should be listened to. So I'm just anti-polarization, and I want to say we all need to look into it a bit more, maybe, to understand each other better.
Damn.
They're just 4 words, but they mean everything.
All right,
I
y'all.
got
So
your
make
back.
sure y'all
Angela also
do me
Brooks,
that
she's
one
got
little
our
favor. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends and family so that way we can get this outreach to more and more folks. I appreciate you for watching and coming in so far, and we about to get back into it because all of these commercials, I'm trying to get the commercials out the way, so the only way I can do that is to help me grow. It's absolutely free to you. It only takes a moment, and let's get back into it.
Before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News, mission to raise the on buying news without reported or partnering with encryption, raising news reports.
We've been able to of the fact that every day our democracy.
Okay, so now we're on the point where they're asking which party do you think will win. I know, guys, I'm sorry. I want to get these ads and stuff absolutely out the way, but help grow the channel so that way we don't have to go through all of this stuff again. In the near future, we ain't got to worry about it. We're going to get straight to the juice. But now, again, I want to talk about, they're saying which party do you think will win this year? As far as it, we have to be concerned, tomorrow, Tuesday, November the 5th, guys, just so you know, will be election day. Okay, so that is the day that the popular votes will be counted. You'll be able to go out and see a lot of the results for some of the states, but it will be in December when the electoral college ballots are cast. Excuse me, I was going to say passed, but cast. So that means, and I'm going to have some special information giving you all of that at the end here. So if you've been liking it, again, just make sure you stay towards the end because it's going to be some special information about everything that's been talked about so far.
Democracy is eroding, and I think we've been able to see it just in the past 6 hours that we've been here. We have divulged into chaos at just every single point of contention, and if we can't agree as a group of 60 people here, we're not going to be able to agree as a group of 300 million. And if our president won't agree that he lost the election in 2020 and gets another 70 million people around him, that is not a very good thing that is going to end well at all. And I think we all need to take a beat, realize that it's kind of batshit crazy that 4 years later, he's saying that I won the election. And there are millions of people on the right that are saying he's the president, it's a shadow government, the military's in control, all of that. We need to realize that that's not okay. And we need to come back to the middle and say in November, we're going to vote, we're going to have a civil, free, fair election, and Kamala Harris is going to get elected.
Okay. I'm not one of those Republicans that just thinks Trump's going to win because he's a Republican. I think he's going to win because he's the only person that stands on merit and he's authentic. The left has pushed so much rhetoric, harmful rhetoric, that I think people are starting to wake up to this. It is, excuse me, but it's bullshit. You guys push rhetoric that Trump's a Nazi, that everybody that supports him is a Nazi, and funny coincidence, he gets shot at. You guys are pushing this hateful rhetoric. We have celebrities and influencers that are saying they want to blow up the White House when he was in presidency. We have, what is it? Maxine Waters said that we need to take him out and shoot him. That is ridiculous. We don't have that language towards you guys. I'm not, and this is a personal experience for me. I have family that's liberal. I have family that believes separate than I do. They're the ones that separated from me. I want to be with them. I want to see them. They don't want anything to do with me because of my beliefs. And I think people are starting to wake up to this crap that's going on because people can see through fake people. Kamala does so many things that if Trump did, we would be attacking him for it. She talked in a fake Mexican accent to Hispanics. If Trump did that, he would be a racist.
Ryan's been
so
raising
you
his
guys
hand.
need to basically have some balls and admit where your party is at fault.
You know, we all have.
Now, I'll say she did do that, and I was not a fan. I don't know if that was a part of her humor, but it is something to put into perspective.
Anecdotal things we've heard about each other's party that we think is representative of how awful they are. We all resonate with feeling like we can't talk to people who don't believe the way we do. We all feel like we've been silenced. We all feel victimized. We all feel attacked. The election isn't going to be won or lost on those things. Elections are complicated civics. It's about who actually shows up to vote. It's about who actually successfully gets their supporters out to vote. Donald Trump's campaign doesn't actually really have a ground game, by which I mean getting people knocking door to door, getting them out to the polls. He's outsourced that to a PAC that is funded by Elon Musk, which I'm not commenting
seeing what
on.
you're saying, Austin. I'm just reading your comment. And yeah, man, I do see that they get in the uproar. That's why I said this polarization of candidate. I mean, like, y'all are just people that want a particular person in the White House. Like, at the end of the day, why are we getting so embroidered by what somebody has to say? But hold on, let me read this fact too. Thank you, Austin, for your comment. Appreciate you, man. The CBS News report states that Harris campaign 353 field officers, and 2,000 staffers in the battleground states, including volunteers. The Trump campaign's smaller Trump force operation relies on loyal supporters knocking door to door and likely infrequent Trump votes. Okay, so I guess that they're saying that you get less votes when Trump is out there doing the door to door, but he's out there still campaigning like everyone else.
On that, except to say, it's not as effective of a strategy. Meanwhile, the Democrats have thousands of field offices across the swing states in the United States. So, just structurally speaking, while there is, and this is a fact, there is an inherent electoral advantage for Republicans because of the way the Electoral College works, there is a structural advantage.
Okay, so according to Cook Political Report Partisan Voting Index, Republicans have an inherent advantage in the Electoral College, allowing them to win despite losing the popular vote if they capture key swing states. So if you didn't know, every state pretty much by, I want to say, I think it's like 1 million people. Yeah, it's about 1 million population. They get another vote as far as the Electoral College. Again, I'm going to give you some information that's very important to all of this in detail at the end of this video, but that is what allows each state to get a number of votes that will say this person is a candidate that we choose or this other person. So if you think about it, there are numbers to it, but I'm going to let this run.
For Democrats insofar as we actually have a robust campaign that is meant to actually find people and get them out to vote, whereas, to be honest, the Republican Party is prepared.
Okay, so Democrats need to win the popular vote by 3 or 4 points to secure the Electoral College. That's why it's a little bit harder. Okay, so hey, man, Austin, I appreciate you putting in the comments who you voted for. I'm going to keep it unbiased only because I'm trying to, just give people straight facts. Appreciate your comment, though, bro. Everybody who's watching, I do appreciate all the love and support. My man Austin here is being very true to who he is supporting in his presidential candidacy. I just think that we need peace whomever we get in office because there's a lot of uproar about war and inciting danger from immigration and all these things. I just need a moment when there's no damn headaches.
Preparing to just challenge whatever happens.
I think Kamala's honestly just a shit candidate, and she's gonna f the country up. She's already had 4 years. No one's elected her. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Democratic Party wins only because of the way they have strategically undermined democracy, because Trump was almost assassinated. When you're constantly calling somebody a Nazi and a threat to democracy, that's what happens.
real political violence, and they are the ones who enable that. Identity politics, too. She has radicalized millions of Democrats by telling them your entire identity revolves around your race, your gender, your sexuality. To the blonde dude over there, when I was speaking earlier, you talking about, you can't believe my standpoint on transgenderism because I'm a black gay man. You know nothing about me, actually. You assumed my sexuality. You assumed my race. I'm a mixed individual. I'm half Hispanic, half black, viva la raza, all that. And I'm actually bisexual. I can pull bad bitches when I want to. So you know nothing about me. It's projection because you're a black gay man and you can't pull bitches.
Okay.
Projection.
Time out. Blossom's had the mic for a minute. We're going to Blossom.
Yeah.
Quiet on this side.
I am a firm believer Kamala Harris is going to
Austin,
win
it
for
was
many
just like
different
how you
reasons.
said, they got in an uproar.
Let's be very clear. The Conservative Party has a rift in it because there are conservatives over here, traditional conservatives.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Why, man? Austin, bro, hold on. We need to give Austin, hold on. Austin, I got something for you. Yo, Austin is going off in these comments, yo. Because why can't we just have an actual debate where people talk about the policies, the actual politics that they think that they're going to try to place when they become a candidate? You know, a lot of people would say, and Austin, this is where it gets a problem. A lot of people say that's the boring thing. But if I knew that's what they was going to be actually doing, then I would actually want to vote more. You know, I would want to be like, I would support this person. But ain't nobody out here really saying nothing but, you ain't ish and you ain't ish. You ugly, you're ugly. Where my baby mama at? You know what I'm saying?
And then there's Trumpers over here because over 200 Republicans are actually voting for Kamala Harris, including Dick and Liz Cheney. So let's just be very clear on that. Number two, can we please respectfully stop the trans erasure here? Because it's very important. If you are not a trans person and you're talking about trans issues, that might need to be passed to trans people, first of all. And respectfully, the Republican side, past genitalia, has no valuable talking points around trans people. Because again, it is so much more about biology. Trans people, when we talk about—
Now that one, I don't know if I really, if you're gonna talk about an issue, you have to have both sides. The fact that you just said that if you ain't of that ilk, you shouldn't be talking, I don't know, man, because it's like you're saying that you got to force and impose your will upon others who may not want to be involved in that, and that is crucial to I think that's the most high talking point of them all, because it's like, so we're just going to impose our will on people? We're not going to allow them to have an opinion because their opinion is supposedly damning to me? I think that's crazy.
About that conversation, it is around gender identity, which Republicans do not have the intellectual capacity to hold that conversation. So I just want to make it very clear. Donald Trump radicalized an insurrection on January 6th that killed one of y'all.
Now, listen, and you know, Austin, you're saying some amazing stuff, because this is what I was talking about with the group of counselors that I work with, but the Tim Walz and the Vance debate it did have more it definitely had more policies that they were talking about. A lot of people didn't watch that one, but they did start doing some not as much, but it was definitely some name calling involved. All right, what you say, Austin? Austin saying everybody just needs to live their lives and not let what someone else wants to be or do hold on, this heart is in the way, I can't see it, or wants to be or do bother them if it doesn't affect them, which is true. Honestly, we just need to buckle down on the real main concerns and not whether this person is somebody that kind of disgusts me, because I'm pretty sure back in the day, there were some ugly presidents, you know what I mean? To some people. I'm just saying it's more now. It's like more, it's such a popularity contest now that it's hard for us to really tell what we are choosing our presidential candidate for.
Side of the aisle. Let's be very clear. A young lady was killed there, and she was a Republican because Trump radicalized. Trump did not make the message or make the call to stop. Instead, he told him to storm the Capitol. And so one of y'all's lost their lives because of what he's done. So how do y'all explain that?
So again, I do.
All right, now, Austin, I'm going to pose this question to you. Now, how do you feel about the time where they stormed this Capitol, though? Because that Capitol thing is very, very prominent, because let's say when all is said and done, will we have another January 6th because of it? I mean, I just want to know, because I don't know the ins and outs of any Proud Boys or whatever mess that's going on over there, and I'm not saying that you are either, but I'm just curious because a lot of people I know now are concerned about that, and that is a point of contention for why they don't want Trump in office. But I'm gonna let this rock, yeah.
Do you want to say, Blossom? I will say thank you for at least saying that. I'd say my biggest talking point right now is.
Oh goodness! All right, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button.
This is crazy.
For me
I've got to.
That's the only way I'm gonna get these ads and stuff out of the way. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. I appreciate you all. Let's get back to it.
No one can deny Trump did make a video where he did say he would ban transgender healthcare. This is
okay. So the Trump-Vance performances proposes reversing Biden's gender-affirming care policy and halting federal programs that support gender transitions. It would bar Medicare and Medicaid from funding for providers offering gender transition cares to minors. This is a topic also for contention because I know a lot of people may or may not have heard about the gentleman in jail who is now a lady who transitioned while in the prison system, and it was completely free to them, which is absolutely insane because a lot of people can't even get regular surgeries for like things of actual pertinence, like maybe I need a new lung or, a piece of my heart valve needs I need a new valve, something like that. Why aren't we covering those things? I don't understand, guys. I don't understand. If you understand, somebody tell me down in those comments.
This is the problem that I have with that, and it's that I don't think realistically he could ever do that. And do I think realistically he believes that? No. I think a lot of politicians say things to just kind of earn some points. Being trans is a hot button topic right now, so what's going to catch voters' eyes saying, I'm going to ban it?
Hold on, my man Austin came back. I appreciate you, Austin, for real, though. You said, I think that there was a lot to that, honestly. I think both parties had a foot in the January 6th issue. Oh man, I still don't know whether I want to point fingers. Too much uncertainty. Now, I will say this: as far as the government is concerned, and as far as our intelligence agencies are concerned, I'm pretty sure people from both sides knew something, but this was the time where somebody had to act. So I get what you're saying, Austin, and I appreciate that comment again. I do. Because like I said, I'm very unbiased here. So it does, swing that a little bit.
Do I really believe?
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I forgot the fact. It also seeks legislation to define two genders determined at birth as recognized by the U.S. government. So I don't know what the U.S. government recognizes right now as a gender. But if you guys know, please let me know down in the comments. Let's let this thing go on here.
If so, no. And even if he wanted to try, I don't think he would even have the power to do so because it would just get shot down. So let's bring up January 6th, the mass meandering through the Capitol. I mean, really, what was the damage on there? I think if we really wanted to bring it up.
Okay, so now we're about to get into the January 6th, Austin. According to an estimate by the architect of the Capitol, the riot caused approximately $1.5 million worth of damage to the U.S. Capitol building. I want to know about the damage to the people, though.
How many? Because I'm pretty sure the Republicans. Well, okay, how about we bring up the riot? And I'm not going to say, this is what I will say real quick. I'm not going to say whether or not I agree with the riots of 2020 because I don't think that's the point, and I'm not going to talk about it, but at the end, or not talk about whether I agree with it or not, but at the end of the day, there was a lot more people who died and a lot more damage that was done during those riots. Most of the people who actually died during the Capitol 6 was just Trumpers. They were the injured people. They were the ones who were getting shot in the throat.
You said you think it should have been a clear stand down order. I think that there should have been a lot more involved with not even just the police, because let me know if did we even get SWAT there in like less than an hour? Because SWAT should have been available. It was just a lot that was room for question with January 6th. I definitely agree with that. But at the end of the day, we know that it happened. So we can't contest that anything else. So 4 pro-Trump's protesters and 5 police officers died after the January 6th riot, leaving 150 injured, and at least 25 Americans died during political protests in 2020.
throw. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, whatever, they're just such bad victims, even though I do think a lot of them were victims. I mean, we still have a lot in federal prison right now who are being held on terrorist charges years and years and years. Basically internal imprisonment for life for a mass meandering through the Capitol. I think if they really wanted to do damage, that many people in the Capitol could have destroyed if they really wanted to, but I don't think they tried.
The revisionist history on January 6th needs to stop. I know people on the right always bring up, well, Trump said march peacefully and patriotically, but actions speak louder than words. He sat in the White House for 3 hours. After he was told the Capitol had been breached, what's the first thing he does? He tweets, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what he had to do. What does he do after that? He calls Kevin McCarthy.
Okay, so that is given the fact that there was a tweet that came out, because this is no point in me reading exactly what that man just said. This is just crazy.
And says, well, Kevin, I think these people are a lot more mad about the election than you are, as both of these people are in hiding from Trump's radical supporters that are trying to break into the Capitol. Someone mentioned earlier lawfare.
Okay. So it says, on a phone call with House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, Trump told him, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are, when McCarthy told him to call the rioters off. Man, and that's the thing, though, because, I mean, again, this is the thing that I think that is the most important about the Trump election. Trump is not a politician, so he is not trained to talk like one when shit hits the fan. So he's going to say things that are off kilter, and I think that's what's so polarizing. But I'm gonna let this rock, because my thoughts ain't what you came for. You want to hear the debate.
And politicizing the justice system. That is so ironic, and I would encourage people to Google this, because I know these people aren't going to believe me. Trump tried to appoint someone named Jeffrey Clark as the Attorney General. The DOJ threatened to all resign, like all the top leadership threatened to resign, because Jeffrey Clark was going to send a letter to swing states saying that your results are fraudulent. You need to send electors for Trump.
Oh goodness! Now see that's something that's going to be a room for contention too, because they were saying that he did the election fraud and all that other kind of stuff. But let me read this fact. In the Oval Office meeting, January 3rd, 2021, senior career DOJ official, okay, told then President Trump that they would resign in impasse if he appointed Jeffrey Clark to be acting attorney general, stating that he was unqualified and unlikely to find evidence of election fraud that Trump wanted. Y'all, it's insane work, though. Now, that right there is insane.
He's also been indicted for fraud in multiple different swing states where he tried to organize not alternative electors, fake electors by the admission of.
Now, this is another part right here, Austin, where it's like, well, dang, man, because Trump is also facing and has been found guilty of 46 charges at the state and federal level, okay? And only the battleground states where he was indicated, is Georgia, where he and 18 others are facing a RICO case now. So it's just, they're saying that he was the part of the election fraud. So I wanted to know what you think about that one, Austin, because that part of it all is also insane to me.
Of his own team verbatim fake electors, right? So if you want to talk about politicizing the justice system or democracy, this is a very...
And I don't pose that just to Austin, but Austin is active in the chat. I pose that to any Republican who is choosing to vote for... to vote their party.
Clear choice, and this transcends any other policy. Trump has said verbatim that we need to terminate the Constitution, and J.D. Vance has said this, and you guys aren't going to know this either. J.D. Vance has said that Donald Trump should fire every single civil servant. Google this.
And they moving them facts quick. Hold up. So on December 3rd, 2022, Trump wrote Truth Social that the alleged fraud in the 2020 election could justify terminating rules, regulations, and even parts of the Constitution.
That's either. J.D. Vance has said that Donald Trump should fire every single civil servant. Google this.
Okay, hold on. I'm about to read what you said, Austin, but let me get to the second fact. After facing backlash, he later posted, what I said was that when there is a massive, widespread fraud and deception and has been refutably proven in the 2020 election, steps must be immediately taken to right the wrong. It's insane. All right, now let me see what my boy is saying. He said, I don't think that there's, what? You said something else after that. That's what messed me up. I don't think that there was something I think that there was some interesting stuff that went on with the previous election. However, I didn't vote in the prior election. I don't think that there was some odd things. Oh, you do think? Excuse me. I do think that there was some odd things that was happening and said. So you agree with me? Listen. I will say this: there is dirty deals everywhere. Now, I don't know where you currently reside, but I will say something. There is a D.C. representative. I won't say his name because I don't want to, paint him in any negative light, but was found, and I'm a local of the DMV area, just so that it's clear. But there was a representative that is rerunning now, but was openly found taking a bribe, right? And he's still on the ballot now. Similar to a Trump situation. Now he's trying to regain his getting his redemption arc, but I just find it funny because he's not a Republican, but he was caught up in a scheme. And again, I talked about this with some other counselors, and what I can say is they are definitely dirty on both sides. I don't think that there is anybody doing this type of job that will come out clean, because eventually you're going to find your breaking point. Something a pimp would tell you is no matter what you do, you're going to get tricked. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody got a trick inside. And that's what's really crazy about the whole thing. I'm going to let this rock, though. Let's get back to it.
Fire every single civil servant, replace them with his people, and then when the Supreme Court tells him to stop, he should ignore the Supreme Court. So where's the party of the Constitution now?
Looking for a way to stretch the dollar? With Insurify, you can...
I know I don't want y'all to be blasted by that foolishness. All right, y'all, just hit the like button for me, and yeah, I'm going to get back into it. I don't want to keep talking.
Through that piece.
Look. At the end of the day, the party that's actually going to win is the party that actually puts families first. The nuclear family is the
Did I miss
the cell of the whole world. Like, we don't have families anymore. Everybody's talking about individual shit. You're talking about...
Okay, this dude he might not be all the way together. He said indivisible. Individual is what I'm pretty sure he's looking for.
This right. What about the families right?
But I definitely that's definitely something we got to talk about. We got to stop worrying about our individual selves and worry about the whole community. Because if you weren't watching earlier, just like with the school board, I'm not a parent, okay? But I made sure I did a lot of research. I have 2 godchildren and over 13 nephews and nieces. Okay, so I definitely pay attention when it comes to things that are outside of my realm, but I want to make sure that they are getting the best opportunities available to them. Okay, so just like that, and with the election, make sure you're doing your goddamn research.
What about the right to have a family and protect the family instead of divide the family? That's the party that will win when you put families first instead of everybody else.
Okay, so about January 6th, I can speak quite a bit on this issue because I was actually in D.C. on January 6th. I was scheduled to speak at the Capitol building. It was an event that was going to be taking place coinciding with the other event that happened at the Ellipse. President Trump exited the stage and attendees were instructed to walk towards the Capitol building for these speeches. It was then Capitol Police insurrectionists that got involved and basically agitated the crowd. We had people...
Now, this is something I did not know. So according to the Department of Justice, more than 140 police officers were assaulted on January 6, 2021, when rioters violently forced their way into the Capitol building and tried to stop their certification of the presidential election. And that's not the part I didn't know. What I did not know was that the police officers supposedly incited this riot to happen.
People that were within the crowd that were actually involved in this agitation. And before any of this happened, President Trump actually knew, and he had an idea, hey, we need to increase the security. He reached out to D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and said, hey,
this is wild that they said this is a fact, because he says Trump claimed he offered 10,000 National Security Guard troops to D.C. Muriel Bowser and then the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for January 6th. But they rejected it. Bowser said that Trump made no such offer and noted that only the president controls the National Guard.
Let's get the security up for this event. Let's make sure we have enough Capitol Police officers there. They both declined because they didn't see it as important enough. They didn't see it as risky enough. So each and every time we hear this rhetoric about saying, oh, Trump insurrected, he said to his people, go march there and attack the Capitol building. No, I was there at that speech.
Okay, so it says former Defense Secretary Christopher Miller testified that local law enforcement believed that they had enough personnel. Pelosi recorded that her daughter said, I take more responsibility for not having them just be prepared for more. I mean, yeah, I would rather be, listen, just like anything, I'd rather be proactive than retroactive. You want to know that if something is coming that you know is going to be big, why not have a show of overwhelming force instead of the opposite? I don't know.
Front row, 10 feet away from that man when he said, march peacefully. I saw on Twitter before they nuked him off the platform, he said,
they shooting these facts. I'm sorry, y'all. So during his speech at the Ellipse on January 6th, Trump said, I know that everyone will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Protest peacefully, hurt nobody. And at the very end, when he got word that people were going in there and hurting people, and there was people like Ashley Babbitt being shot and killed, he posted a video on Twitter, once again, before he was nuked off the platform, saying...
Golly, they really are shooting him off. Approximately 2 hours after the building breach at 4:17, Trump released a video on social media urging rioters to go home.
Please leave, do not break any laws, go home, and stop. That is what President Trump did on that day.
I think the reason that Kamala Harris is going to win this election is because I think we live in a new generation where there is empathy, where people try to understand each other, people try to understand others' experiences, people try to accept each other and love each other and let people live the lives that they need to live as long as it's not affecting other people. And here's the thing, at the end of the day, I heard a lot of you guys say, oh, when I lived...
I will say that I think that is the rhetoric that Kamala stands on. I will also say that I do not agree that is what people are doing. I think that people are getting so wrapped up in so much BS that they are now like, well, I just want to do me. I don't give a shit what anybody else is doing. So if you're just going to do you over there, go ahead, do that, and leave me the hell alone. And that's where the issue is, because we have to work together as a community. Because if you're just doing it for you, you shouldn't even be watching this type of video, because it doesn't matter what happens to the world after, 80 days from now, because you're just going to be worried about your shit. And whoever goes into office, it's going to affect you, but you're not going to think about it because you're only worried about your own damn life. And that's why I'm trying to tell y'all to research and make sure you stay in tune with everything that is going on, not just when the election happens, even afterwards.
Under Trump's America, it was great. When I lived under Trump's America, it was fine. Let's be honest. Our relatives on Standing Rock Reservation are fighting for their land right now. Our relatives are fighting for their fishing rights right now. Our relatives are fighting to keep their children on their reservations. We just had ICWA, an entire case trying to dismantle our right as Indigenous people to keep our own people on our land. So maybe you had an amazing time, but Trump literally called up representatives and tried to get the Mashpee Wampanoag people to get their rights revoked, their tribal rights revoked. So maybe you had an amazing time under Trump's America, but maybe ask a Mashpee Wampanoag person what their life was like under Trump's America. Maybe ask a trans person what their life was like under Trump's America. It's not just about you. We need to have empathy.
Listen, I don't say this to create any kind of cacophony or any soundbite. This is just truly how I think. I think Donald Trump is a dangerous maniac. Hold on. Okay, let me finish, guys. I'm not trying to rile anybody up. This is just how I feel, okay? I think Kamala Harris I have a wealth of criticisms for her in her time as the DA, thank you, in San Francisco. I have a wealth, with Palestine, I have a wealth of criticisms for Kamala Harris. But the fact is, Donald Trump represents a threat to democracy, brotder. He does, and you can groan about it all you want, but that's the truth, and that's why Kamala Harris will win.
And just one, I need like one full-hearted
I support Kamala Harris, and she will win this election because I cannot get behind any candidate that does not support the three branches of government and that is not going to abide by them. And the Supreme Court has given Donald Trump or anybody that holds the highest office in the world full authority to be a dictator, to not listen and have proper checks and balances. And that is why his former cabinet members do not support him, because they know what he tried to do. Not what he did, which was already polarizing and horrific, but what he wanted to do. And now he will have no reins. If you don't like Kamala Harris, guess what? You have checks and balances. You don't have to like the candidate that we like. But if you are for the party that is of the Constitution, why would you want to support someone that...
So listen, it becomes so prevalent, like the last, you're right though, the election naive. I'll be honest with you, I was trying to avoid being political, but so many of my spaces were talking about things that it became almost impossible for me to not. And after this section, I'm going to play this little tidbit that I was telling you about. That's going to give you some other perspectives. Now, you guys can tell me how you think about it, but that's going to end out the show because we can't stay out here too long. I got to work in the morning, and this is already crazy enough. And I want you guys to get the rest that you need so that way you can make a proper decision. Honestly, though, just like Austin is kind of mentioning, you shouldn't have waited until tomorrow to gone out and vote. Hopefully you voted before this, but it is more and more important to be ahead of the game instead of being behind it. This is the deadline tomorrow. It used to be where everybody would vote, and I get it now because, working folks and all of that, they can't allow everybody on the same day to come and vote, and then it will just be massively overwhelming. What are you saying, Austin? Hold on, man. No, we got to talk about this like every other day. So, I mean, if you enjoy this politics stuff, Austin, I appreciate you for all the comments and stuff. Please share this with anybody else that you think needs to hear all of this kind of stuff. I'm going to jump into this other part right here, right now. Bear with me because it's important. It is important. All right. Oh, my boy Crimson. I'm sorry, bro. Crimson, I've been all over the place. Getting chats all over. Okay, now I'm going to let this rock out.
Suffice it to say that we stand in one of the most momentous periods of human history. And in these days of emotional tension, when the problems of the world are gigantic in extent and chaotic in detail, all men of goodwill must make the right decisions. And on Tuesday, 1 week from today, the people of this nation must decide whether they want America to remain true to the great words of the Founding Fathers. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We must decide whether those words will be firmly etched into the structure of our nation, or whether we will allow our nation to be relegated to a second-rate power in the world with no moral voice. We must decide next Tuesday whether America will take the high road of justice and peace and compassion for the poor and underprivileged, or whether this nation will tread the low road of man's inhumanity to man, of injustice, of short-sightedness. And each of us has a moral responsibility, if we are of voting age and if we are registered, to participate in that decision. I come here to urge every person under the sound of my voice to go to the polls on the 3rd of November and vote your convictions. Now, I know you're intelligent people, and I don't need to tell you who you should vote for. I don't have any fear about that. you know who to vote for. I'm just asking you to vote. Now, just if you need, very seriously, never before in the history of our nation has a candidate for the presidency taken such a negative stand on the demands of our Judeo-Christian heritage for justice and understanding, goodwill, and compassion for the poor and peace. And so all men of goodwill will go to the polls on November the 3rd. And I hope we will have a great day in our nation so that when we wake up on the 4th of November, we will know that America has made the right decision.
The other important thing to know as it relates to the elections is that we don't have a national election office. Literally, what we're having right now is about 51 individual elections, right? Because it's the 50 states and the District of Columbia. So we have 51 individual elections that are being coordinated by the secretaries of state and the election boards for those 51 entities, the 50 states and Washington, D.C. There are 538 electoral votes.
Right.
It's 435 members of Congress, plus the 100 senators, plus the 3 electoral votes that DC has.
Right.
So they do not have electoral votes. And so within those, that's why the election can be so crazy, because there's not one coordinated central electoral process that you have. If we're just talking about political issues within 6 to 9 months of election time, then we're not having a serious conversation. The folks that are doing that are not having a serious conversation. I think, as I mentioned last year, people are talking about Project 2025 and getting into a uproar about that. Note that the Heritage Foundation, which published Project and created Project 2025, which Heritage Foundation, very, very right-leaning, racist, sexist, misogynist, you name it, foundation, and one of the largest in that ways, was founded, I think, in 1973 or 75. They've been publishing this kind of position look forward since 1983 or 85, right? So this is not something new. We know about it now because people are talking about it, but be clear. This isn't like, oh, okay, it's election 2024, 6 months out, we're going to do this. No, this is a part of who they are. And so well past November 5th, we all as a community have to be clear about what our vision is.
All right, y'all, my bad. I had a little hiccup over here on my side, but let me zoom it on in. Yeah, y'all. So, Austin, I appreciate you for coming in. Yes, this has been the episode. I hope that you guys go out, make sure you vote your candidate, make sure that you are doing your due diligence, because at the end of the day, only you can choose your life. So, as always, guys, remember, live as long as you want, never want as long as you live, and always squeeze the best juice out of life. Peace. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to give y'all the outro music. My outro music wasn't trying to come on. Here we go. All right, peace, y'all. Dang, we got a boom of people just before I'm leaving out. If you haven't seen the video already, scroll back to the beginning. I'm glad that y'all all dropped in here. Appreciate y'all, but this is your boy getting out of here.